Bulow Plantation Ruins Park was the largest sugar plantation in East Florida. This plantation, also known as Bulowville, is located on County Road 201, Old Kings Road, and 3 miles west of Flagler Beach. Bulow Plantation is located in an area that is well suited for growing crops. There were many fresh water sources that were located near the plantation. A few of these sources were the Halifax River, the Mosquito Inlet, and Bulow Creek. Along with reliable sources of fresh water, the soil was ideal for growing their cash crops. Within Bulow Plantation, there is cassia fine sand, bimini oil, and tuscaloosa. The soils that were in the park were very beneficial when it came to growing sugarcane. Major Charles Wilhelm Bulow, using slave labor in 1821, cleared 2,200 acres of land. He then proceeded to plant sugarcane, cotton, rice, and indigo. In William Ryan's Bulow Gold, the chapter The Finest Plantation tells of how the Bulow men took great pride in their work. He states that a young Bulow believes their sugar works will be far more than what people will expect, but ultimately, the finest works in all of Florida and the South. John Bulow owned 159 slaves who were quartered in 46 houses. The small wood cabins, 12 feet wide and 16 feet long, were built on foundations of native lime rock. These coquina foundation blocks are the only surviving parts of the original structures. A large workforce was essential to the operation of a frontier plantation. The slaves cleared the forest, planted and harvested crops, and worked the sugar mill. A neighboring planter commented that the Bulow slaves fared fairly well. He remembered the slaves having their own garden plots and some leisure time to hunt and fish. Other accounts of slave life at Bulow Plantation have been less favorable. The plantation made about $20,000 a year in profit off of the sugarcane, which back in the 1800s was an extremely respectable profit. This sugar mill, built of coquina sedimentary rock, was the largest plantation in East Florida. Each building held a specific responsibility and was where different tasks would be performed. The plantation was set up into different sections. There were slave quarters, the plantation house, the sugar house, and the sugar kettles. This was the largest sugar mill in Florida. It was operated by Charles Wilhelm Bulow and John Joachim Bulow from 1820 until it was burned by the Seminoles in 1836. Sugarcane was planted in January and February and was ready for harvesting by mid-October. Field workers cut the cane and loaded it on wagons that brought it to the mill for processing. Sugarcane is a crop that needs very little attention while it's growing. Throughout the term that it grew, the slaves were able to devote their time towards working on more crops than just the sugarcane. Kingsley Plantation, located in Jacksonville, Florida, still has quite a bit of its structure still standing today. Bulow primarily only has the main coquina arrangement still standing, but Kingsley Plantation still has a 2-story main house, as well as a 2-story kitchen house, slave cabins, a barn, and 2 wells. The buildings at Kingsley are not made of coquina, but instead made of tabby, a concrete-like structure made from sand, oyster shells, and lime. The juice flowed from the settling vats into the second floor into the grande, the largest of 5 kettles built into the furnace below. The grande was also the coolest, being the farthest from the battery kettle under which the furnace was fired. The chimney draft pulled heat from this fire through the furnace to heat the other kettles. The heated juice was hand-dipped from the larger to the smaller kettle and ended up as syrup in the battery, the smallest and hottest. Here it reached the strike stage. It was then ladled into a trough and flowed into large wooden cooling vats to harden. After hardening, it was spaded into slices, carried in small tubs to the purgery, and packed in hogsheads. The hogsheads were kept in this warm curing room for 20 to 30 days until all the molasses had dripped from the sugar into a cistern located in the recess beneath. The molasses was sold for making rum. The partly emptied hogsheads were then refilled with sugar and stored. Gamble Plantation, located in South Florida, had an extensive sugar plantation. Today, a huge mansion still stands on the Gamble Plantation Historic State Park, which is constructed of tabby as well. At its peak, Gamble Plantation included 3,500 acres, and Gamble held more than 200 slaves to work the property and process the sugarcane. Dummit Plantation produced sugarcane as well. Using about 100 slaves and 40 native Indians during season, sugarcane juices were heated and processed into molasses, stored in 3 cisterns, and then passed onto the plantation's rum distillery. The Indians would exchange fresh-caught game for the sugar plantation's products. Bulowville may have been the center of many festivities because of Bulow's wealth. The neighboring families would come properly dressed for the occasion. John Joachim Bulow's great house was probably similar in appearance to this drawing of a Louisiana mansion, with the porch all around the second floor. In 1836, Bulow Plantation, as well as Dummit Plantation, was burned in the Second Seminole War.